everybody. Today I want to talk about small acts of kindness and things that we can do to make some big impacts in not only the receiver of our act of kindness, but ourselves. Because that's basically what we're doing. We're having a relationship here with ourselves, right? And it's reflected through everybody else that we meet. It's all reflected back to us. That's why they say, you get what you give, you treat people as you would want to be treated, all those universal truths. So what is a small act of kindness? It's so easy right now to want to fight everybody all the time, right? Oh my God, online. Just go online and go to anybody's post that you don't agree with and read the comments underneath, and you will see nothing but fighting, screaming, name calling, terrible things that people say and do. Say that they would never say or do to someone who is standing in front of them. People being rude. God, think about driving, right? People being rude on the road. You accidentally cut somebody off and they just, man, they're gunning for you. They're coming for you, right? Like, what is that about? And it's not about you, because think about that. Think about that. Like, if somebody cuts you in a line, or somebody cuts you off in traffic, or somebody makes a comment underneath something that you posted, it's never about you. It's about them. It's about what they're going through. A violent or super aggressive reaction to something like that is not healthy, right? A happy person, a contented person, a grateful person doesn't act that way. They don't do that. They're not, somebody cuts you off, you're not, chasing them down on the road and going after them and wanting to curse and give them the middle finger, or God forbid, even worse than that. We hear stories all the time. Somebody cuts you in line, and you see now these videos, because we video everything, of who's having an argument out in public and the terrible things that people say to each other. If you're a content and happy person inside of yourself, your reaction isn't going to be that way. Your reaction would be, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, excuse me, because maybe you weren't paying attention and the person said, you cut me off. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm not paying attention. And then you move on with your day. But getting so angry at a stranger is what we're seeing more and more of. And I know people like to post those videos because it gets a lot of looks, it gets a lot of likes, it gets a lot of, shares and all that stuff. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what we can do to be kinder to ourselves and to be kinder to everyone that we come in contact with on a daily basis. So what's a small act of kindness that you can do? First off, let's start with yourself, and then we'll get to everybody else. Because I have a feeling that 99.9% of us are not very kind to ourselves. And I can start with I'll ask you this question. What is the first thing you say to yourself when you see yourself in the mirror? The first thing. Do you say what Miss Louise Hay would say? She would say to herself, "Hi, Louise, I love you so very much." No, I guarantee you don't. I know that I didn't, and still have to remind myself not to trash talk myself when I'm looking in the mirror, especially if I'm getting ready to go out or whatever, because the first thing you'll say is, ugh, I don't like my hair. I'm looking old. What is happening? There's wrinkles. Oh my God, I'm getting fat, or I'm too skinny, or oh my God, I look tired. Those are the things that we do. So maybe the first act of kindness that you can start doing and offering yourself is to yourself. What try an exercise of not criticizing yourself when you look in the mirror for 3 months. God, do it for 3 days and then work up to 3 months and see how you start to feel. Can you do that? Can you do it for just a few months, and then it'll become a habit and you'll start to recognize the things that you say to yourself? Can you go in front of the mirror and tell yourself, "Ooh, you know what? Yeah, I mean, nobody is exactly, especially the way we look, especially the way it's thrown in our faces, right? You have to be perfect. You have to be this weight. Your body has to look like this. You have to, you can never get older. You can't, none of the things that nature, does, right? We can't like, you can look at this and, oh my God, and, my hair and all that stuff. So what about looking for the one thing that you do like? Maybe it's your hair. Maybe you have really good hair and you really like it and you've always liked it. What about focusing on that and complimenting yourself and saying to yourself, you know what? I always really liked my hair. I really like the way it looks. Yeah, I'm gonna focus on that. And then every time you hear yourself say, but I really don't like the way ... fill in the blank, you say to yourself, nope, not doing that. Stop. No, not going there. Not doing that to you. Just try it. Start with yourself first. And then we can start being kind to everybody else we come in contact with. And what can we do? Okay. Starting with ourselves, being kind to ourselves first. What can we do to be kind to ourselves first? And making that a daily practice. I think it's really important. But what are the little things and the small little things that we can do when we walk out our front door to everybody else we come in contact with on a daily basis? What about holding the door open for somebody? It's really small. It's nothing. It's a millisecond of your time. Every time somebody holds the door open for me, I always make sure I say, oh, thank you, I appreciate that. Because it was nice, it was kind, Or somebody who you can see in the car really wants to get into your lane, and instead of pulling up and blocking them, pulling back and letting them go and saying, yeah, go ahead, giving a wave. That costs us nothing. And the person who you just did that for will think to themselves, oh, that was a really nice person. And all of that energy, whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not, and there's plenty of people that talk about it, talk about how energy can be measured, and everything is energy, and our thoughts are energy, and everything we put out to the universe is energy, 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 and energy never dies. It just changes form. It comes back to you. Anytime you do those things, it's coming back to you in little ways. It could be you're at the grocery store. You see a very tired mom who's got 2 kids and a bunch of groceries, and she's got to get home and she's got to take care of her kids, and you have a handful of things and you're standing in line. How about going, you know what? Go ahead, you go ahead of me. How many of us do that? I mean, do we? Could we? Of course. How about, taking a walk down the street and you're walking through the park and you're seeing other people exercising, walking, riding a bike, and, and just saying hi, and just, that's it. You don't have to stop them. You don't have to have a whole conversation, but just a hi, how are you? Oh, good. Have a good day. And walk on by. That is a small act of kindness. The more of us that do that, the more of us will want to do that, because it's almost like it becomes contagious. You know how violence is contagious and aggression is contagious? So is kindness. So is happiness. So is gratitude. So what small act of kindness can you do on the daily? Just one thing. Even if it's just holding the door open for somebody to walk in front of you. Try it, see how you feel. I know it's gonna make somebody else happy. They'll notice and they'll feel it, and that's good. Okay, so talking about these small acts of kindness that has big spiritual impacts. And what do I mean by a spiritual impact? I mean, being kind for other people. Oh my God, I have the fan blowing on me, so that's why my hair, I keep doing this because it's blowing in my face, but I have to have it because I'm always running warm. Anyway, the more you do this and the more you practice this in your own life with other people, it's going to have effect on those other people for sure. But really, the biggest effect it's going to have is on you and how you feel, and how you feel in your connection to source, whatever source is to you, whether God, the universe, Buddha, angels, your higher self. Even if none of that is true, just your own heart, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It changes and it shifts your perspective. And what you'll start to notice is, and I mentioned this when I was talking about in the little gratitude videos I did, what you'll notice is it raises your vibration. And when your vibration raises, you're gonna find, just by doing these small acts of kindness, other people are being kinder to you. Because it is true, you get what you give. You get what you give. So the more kind you are, and there's a difference between kind and nice. Meaning, you don't have to be overly nice. If there's somebody in your physical space that's making you uncomfortable, you don't have to be nice about it. You could say, excuse me, you need to move back. You're too close, especially for women dealing with men who sometimes get a little too close or think they have a right to, see if they have power over us. You don't have to be nice. But being kind is different. Giving everybody, before they've shown you any different, some kindness and the opportunity to show up for you in a kind way is what the big goal is. Because I notice just in my own life, when I'm having a bad day and I'm really stressed out and I'm not feeling so kind, and I go out and about in my day, I'm short, my temper is I have a little bit of a temper, and it's hard for me sometimes because I'm real sarcastic to kind of like zip it. And I notice I'll have more experiences that bring on that aggravation. But if I make a conscious effort to get myself, centered and say, no, I'm going to be kind, and purposely go out into the world looking for ways to be kind to other people are kinder to me. I've tried it, I've tested it, and yes, it's 100% true for me. And I'm not talking about pretending, where you actually are looking at somebody and you're thinking, ugh, and you're making all these judgments and you're gonna pretend that you're kind. You have to actually feel it. It is energetic. You can't lie to the universe. And you can't lie to yourself, even though you think you can. Not really. So try it, see what happens. Start being kind, just little ways, and then see where it can go from there. So what ways do you think you can show up in the world in kinder ways? Start in your own home, and then in your neighborhood, and you can branch out from there. So do you know anything about your neighbors? Is there a neighbor that you can be extra kind to? Maybe somebody elderly who lives alone, who doesn't really get a lot of company and is feeling lonely, Can you have a cup of coffee with them or check on them just to see how they are? Where I live in my apartment building, we all know each other, our neighbors. We all get along really well. And it's a good community. I love the community. It's an artist community. We're all artists that live here. And I know all my neighbors, and we check on each other all the time. My neighbor across from me, he's a little bit older and he has some health issues. And if I don't hear or see from him in a couple of days, I message him, hey, are you all right? What's going on? Do you need anything? Just to check on each other. That's a really nice thing. You can start there. Do you know your next door neighbor? Or are you one of those neighbors that you don't know your neighbors, you don't talk to them, you don't want to know anything about them, and you know, you complain about everything that they do. They took the garbage out too early or whatever. You hear stuff all the time. Like, it's a choice to be that way. You don't have to be that way. You don't have to focus on the things that they're doing that you don't like. Do you know anything about them? Just try there. Then you can go even further. You can take it out in your city, in your county, your neighborhoods, your state, you know? You can just keep going with it. But focusing on that instead of focusing on all the ways the world isn't kind and how terrible things can be, because things can be terrible. And when I'm not, you're not hearing me, some of the things that come out of my mouth when I hear some stories, I sound like a sailor, because I'll curse and yell, and because I'm passionate about it when I see especially other people hurting or how unfair things are for people. So I'm not, you know, Pollyanna here, or pie in the sky, or whatever you want to say, that I'm not acknowledging that. But I am responsible for my own life. I am responsible for my own experiences. So how do I want to be in the world? I want to be kind, because I want people to be kind to me. And so I choose it. And I make it a conscious choice. Never thought about it when I was younger, but I think about it now, and it has made a huge difference. So think about it, you know, maybe just showing up in the world kinder. You'd be surprised at what comes back to you. All right, everybody. I'll see you guys next time. Okay, bye-bye.